Okay, so we'll just start that and see what happens.
Okay, sounds good to me.
All right, so make sure you pull your mic like close to yourself, so you're like
Yeah. you
are like
right on it.
you're not like you're headbutting it almost, if
Yeah.
you will. This is like a street fight with your microphone.
Yep.
You are fighting it in the back alleys of Morgan County, and you are wrestling and headbutting and all that kind of stuff. It's a fight here on the podcast today. And with that metaphorical conversation, we'll go ahead and get our intro music rolling. Welcome. What are we calling ourselves?
County Gamers.
County Gamers? Hold
Yep.
on. County Gamers Podcast. Welcome to the County Gamers Podcast. Hopefully we get a little more organized. Hold on, strap in, buckle up, and here we go. Welcome to the podcast. My name is Aaron, and I am joined by...
Chris.
And Chris already has some gaming credentials as well. He has a little more than I do. And welcome to the County Gamer. Boy, this is gonna be great. I'm gonna get it right one of these days. County Gamers Podcast, and we hail from the county of Morgan here in Colorado. The town is Fort Morgan. It's 77 or so miles northeast of Denver on the plains. We are the last, well, okay, we're not the last major town. Sterling is just down the road about 45 miles. So we don't want to disparage Sterling and they're lovely people who live there and are lovely individuals. But there's a point of pride with Morgan where we try to kind of claim as we're the last bastion of whatever that's here on the plains. We call ourselves like the Queen Christmas City of the North or some such nonsense.
Yeah, I think so.
We throw a kickin' Christmas parade, and the decorations are already up. Mm-hmm. You go down Platte, you go down Main Street. It feels like Christmas, even though it's not even Christmas. It's still Thanksgiving. But I'm not going to hold it against our town because, hey, they do a really nice job. And our Christmas parade is something to behold. Like, it's a thing. So all of that to say, this is not some podunk town. This is not some little, like, one-horse town with nothing to go on and nothing to have fun. This is Fort Morgan. We got a lot of cool stuff. We've got me and Chris, and we're here to talk to you today, introduce ourselves, and talk about gaming. So, Chris, we'll start with you because you're on the other side of this microphone, and you're the one that you actually work in the district. You are an IT guy, and you've been around computers a lot. Walk us through, I guess, start class time. Apparently, the bell is ringing. We are recording this in a classroom here in Morgan County. It is a school club, so when you hear that bell ring, it's not that we're recording during class on a weekday. Please don't report us. We're just in the classroom with the studio. So after that delightful interruption, talk us through, Chris. When did computer gaming become a thing for you? At what time and age? What was your first gaming system? Why was it that? And what was your favorite game? And then how did your gaming history evolve to today here in 2021?
Man, this might be a long story.
I've got my Mountain Dew. We're going to be good.
Okay. So first I started off, I believe I was about 15. My dad bought this computer from a company called Stupid PC. That was the name of the company. They're not around anymore, but
I suspect there may be a reason for that. But okay, continue with your story.
Oh, they were expensive too.
Stupid expensive. That's
expensive.
a really terrible business model.
Yeah,
if you're out there, stupid computing, I would love to have an interview with you people because, good God Almighty, stupid computing. Wow, that's special. Okay, continue on.
So the first game we had was Tiger Woods, and I don't even remember what year that was. That was a long time ago. The computer was slow, but it's actually the first computer I started to learn how to work on computers.
Okay.
So then I got I think it was a Nintendo, an original Nintendo.
Okay.
After that, like a year or so after that. And then I got into like Duck Hunt. I played Duck Hunt and all that business, as y'all know.
Okay.
And then I went into the Dreamcast.
Ooh.
Okay, now the Dreamcast holds a special place in my heart because it was a system that I actually put into my truck.
wait, team timeout. You put your Sega Dreamcast
Yes,
into your truck.
I did.
Please explain this.
Oh, I can't wait.
Please tell me.
So I had I think it was a 2006 Ford Ranger
Okay.
that I bought.
Okay.
It was my first vehicle that I paid for myself.
Okay.
And I decided that I went to a competition called the ISCA World Finals, and I saw they had Star Wars on a TV in the dash.
Okay.
And I said, I'm going to build that when I get back home. So I had a friend of mine who worked at the Radio Shack. They don't.
That's a flashback. That company doesn't exist anymore. In case you're wondering what that, it's like Ultimate Electronics, but Ultimate Electronics was had less of a staying power than Radio Shack. Radio Shack was like a cultural touch point, and only certain people of certain ages will know what Radio Shack was. They died along with Circuit City. So.
Circuit City.
Oh my gosh! Google Radio Shack if you're listening right now. Just go Radio Shack and look. And look at the wonders of what Radio Shack was, what it became, and why it ended. Because that's a whole story. I'm pretty sure there's like a YouTube video somewhere someone's created retail archaeology about Radio Shack's rise and fall, and then their attempt to rise again, and then like Frankenstein, they got cast out into the ocean and were never seen again. So you went to the now non-existent Radio Shack.
Yeah. So I went to the the non-existent one that was in Clayton, Georgia, which is where I was originally from.
I couldn't tell that you were from the South at all. The accent didn't give it away.
Nobody can.
So we're in Georgia at a Radio Shack.
Yep.
Okay.
So a friend of mine worked there, and he had access to certain things that nobody else had access to.
Okay.
So he had access to a company that had access to a 5.1 Dolby Digital surround sound processor.
Whoa.
And he had a Alpine, I forget the model, but it was a flip-out DVD player. So it had the monitor was motorized, so it would come out of the dash and flip out.
Oh, I remember those.
I had one of those.
Okay.
So I said, you know what? I'll buy that, and I'm going to buy the processor.
Yeah.
I got the processor, I think, for like $500, which at the time was $300 less than what it was retailing for. So
back in the day when things cost, well, they still cost a lot of money, but that was expensive.
That was expensive, yes. So I ended up hooking all this up, and then I decided, you know what? I am tired of not having a video game in my truck.
Yeah.
So I said, how am I going to do this? So I hooked it up.
Yeah.
I hooked up the video because it was just composite, the yellow, just in case anybody's wondering.
Is that you're talking the RCA cables?
Yeah, the RCA.
Okay, so this is before S video. This is before HDMI. This is the dark ages of video technology. People like, I guarantee you go to a kid who is like it's a middle schooler or a high schooler right now, and you go, yeah, this, and you pull out and I have RCA. Actually, I think I threw them away. I've had RCA cables just on the standby in case I ever have an outdated piece of equipment. But it's funny, if you compare the quality of video from the RCA to even the S videos and now the HDMIs, the progression of quality, like it just I guarantee, like so a small rabbit trail. So when my gaming, then we'll get back into yours, but I originally bought Skyrim for my PS4 I think it was my PS4 or PS3 anyway. So I had one of those big bulky TVs, right? And it was not great quality. It was coming out RCA and it was terrible. And so I played Skyrim on that for like a year and a half, and I loved Skyrim. It was great. But then, like, there was a deal running somewhere where I could get a TV, like a flat screen. It wasn't a flat screen as we think of it today.
No.
But it was maybe like a little bit long, like, a little wider, like maybe 5 inches thick. And that was flat screen.
Yeah.
It wasn't really, but the miniaturization technology had caught up. And so I got that TV, and I'm telling you, the first time that I put that TV up and I hooked, it was HDMI. So I got I had to get the HDMI output from my PlayStation into the HDMI input. Totally different than the RCA I had used. I think it was maybe even S video, but it was terrible. And so that moment, I will never forget this. And this is really nerdy of me, but hey, it's a nerd podcast. I remember flicking on my PlayStation 4, whatever it was.
Oh my goodness!
Hitting the power button on the TV and going, "That's an amazing image." Like it was crystal clear. Like the quality, like I was playing a brand new game. And so for you out there who are like, whatever, RCA, you don't understand.
No.
We came from a land of lackluster video quality. And so the days of, and even S video after that was all right. But now in the land of HDMI and everything. So anyway,
It's a big difference, man.
There's a
It is.
significant difference. So when you're
Yeah.
hooking up this RCA stuff, so you hook it up in your truck. You
Yep.
Continue.
So this processor had the ability to do. It had the ability to run audio in 5.1 channels. So I'm like,
Ooh.
so 5 channels plus a subwoofer. So
Yep.
just in case, that's center channel.
Yep.
Right and left front. Right and left surround.
Yeah.
So I ended up having all of that.
In your truck.
Yes, in my truck. I had the amplifier I was running was a Soundstream. I think a Little Wonder 4 was the name of it.
Okay.
So it drove, everything was clean.
Yeah.
And I remember, I will never forget the first time I played it. It was the most amazing thing I'd ever seen. But then I remember my first experience with HDMI.
Yeah.
That was way better.
Yeah.
I mean, but the Dreamcast is where we all started. That's
Yeah.
where that's the time that I come from.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and then I moved on to I believe it was a PlayStation 1.
Okay.
For anybody that doesn't know what that is, the best ever.
It's where it all began.
It is. It's where the video started to get really a lot better.
Well, even like gaming quality and gaming engines and the 3D stuff.
Yeah, just the playability was a lot better. And now they have, and now I have a gaming computer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I had the PlayStation 1, the PlayStation 2, the PlayStation 3, a PlayStation 4.
Yep.
But I don't like consoles much anymore.
And I think so. You've graduated into now just strictly PC gaming.
Oh yeah,
you haven't touched a console in years.
I hate consoles.
So
like
let me parallel my experience with you now.
Mm-hmm.
I never had the Dreamcast. My friends had the Dreamcast.
Yep.
And I don't know deep enough the history of the Dreamcast, but I can tell you there are hundreds of thousands, possibly upwards of 1 million or more, where the Dreamcast was the thing.
Yeah.
And it was a different kind of system. It was there's a special place in a lot of people's hearts for the Sega Dreamcast.
Yeah.
For the simple reason that there has been no more Sega. There's not been a lot of Sega system. There's not been a Sega system since. The Dreamcast was it, at least as far as I'm trying to remember at that point. And so the Dreamcast was it was the biggest thing for a lot of people and certain generations. Now, I don't want to say if I was too young for the Dreamcast, but my first gaming system was the Nintendo 64.
Ooh, yeah.
And that was a game changer, not to use a pun, but also to use a pun. It was a game changer for me because my dad was a computer programmer from back in the day. When we moved here to Colorado in 92, I'm trying to think about that, 92? Was it 92? Yeah, it was 92. And we moved here in 92. Or was it 95? Oof. It's hard to remember.
It's hard to remember. Yeah.
I'm going to go with 90, somewhere in the 90s. Okay. So when you went into a bank to get a loan, they type in things into a program.
Yep.
My dad and his company made those programs.
Oh.
So he was a programmer by trade, and he'd gone to college, he'd gotten his degree, and he had been studying, and he always he knew. And I experimented with Borland's C++ and other, and I could never get my head around it because my mind just didn't. It wasn't my jam. I am very much of a software guy. I am less hardware and programming, where I'm a software dude. I can figure it out. You take apart a computer, I don't know how to put it back together. There's a reason why I watch Linus Tech Tips, and I get so much from that because I'm like, oh, I could watch the step by step of how to put a computer together. Yeah. I have no idea how to do that, but I can watch someone else do it and figure it out. Yeah. But Linus, his brain is he's got big old computer brains, and he knows.
He's awesome.
Oh my gosh, blows my mind every time I watch the show. I'm just like, good Lord. How did someone get so smart? But he is. Anyway, so that was me. So we had and this is going to date me. So we had I'm not trying to remember this correctly. We had a 486 DX266. Now, if you know what that is, that's a 66 megahertz machine.
Yeah, that's old.
What are we running today on most of our machines that are pretty modern? 3.5 gigahertz.
Yeah.
Yeah. This machine was a megahertz machine. It was so slow, but at the time, it was incredible. It was
fast.
Cutting edge. Yeah. And so I can remember Windows 3.1. Yeah. I can remember the sound and playing games and stuff like that. And I had a lot of DOS games. And then the Windows thing started to be after 3.1, it was Windows 95. And I can remember in my middle school years, Command and Conquer.
Woo! Come on.
Command and
Come
Conquer
Darn.
was the beginning of my real vested interest in computer gaming.
Yeah.
And the reason why Command and Conquer was so cool, and if you're out there listening, and if you're an old time gamer or you're a gamer who likes to play retro, because Command and Conquer is retro now.
It is.
But it featured full motion video.
Yep.
So they recorded scenes, but they also rendered like full motion like scenes with tanks and things like that.
Oh my goodness.
And they mixed it in, and then, yeah, you look at it now and you're just like, it looks kind of terrible. But at that time, in my middle school years, that was incredible. That you could make a tank go blow up another tank, and there were sound effects, and there was like, you'd click on a unit and they'd be like, yes sir, or, click on Tanya, you have all these cool little things and so like my friends and I, we would grab our desktop PCs, because we didn't have laptops at the time that were even capable of running games, and we would all go over to one of our friends' house. We would network all the computers together, and we would play Command and Conquer like overnight, into like 6 a.m. and we would have incredibly long gaming sessions, because we'd use the big maps, and we'd go up against all the bad guy players, or we'd play against each other. And I have some really it's interesting to think back. I have some really great memories of just finding joy in playing those games, and finding something that I liked. We were talking about this earlier before we came on and started recording. I found a hobby. I found something, and I found a group of guys that were the same as me. They were my people. They spoke my language. They loved computer games just as much as I did. And it was a community. It was on our other podcast with James, we talk about having a nerd herd or whatever. Like, you have the people. And so Command and Conquer for us was that, and I have played every Command and Conquer game up until like Generals. Command and Conquer 3 and 4, whatever those not great makings of them. I ignore them. Tiberian Sun is great. Red Alert 2 is
it's all right.
Red Alert 3 is just an absolute travesty. But like Command and Conquer was my real-time strategy introduction. So then you had Age of Empires 1, Age of Empires 2, Age of Empires 3, and now you have Age of Empires 4. And you had Total Annihilation, that's a flashback.
That's an awesome
one. Oh my gosh. And then there was the fantasy adaptation of Total Annihilation. And I played that like crazy. We'd play that too. And so my gaming history primarily starts in the real-time strategy world. And I in high school I played some, but I was in drama, and so I did a lot more of theater and lighting. And so after I graduated high school, I kind of drifted away. Like, I still played some computer games at college, but then I left college. I didn't finish because I was like, I'm gonna take a year off. I then took 14 years off, which was not a great decision to make, but you do what you can. And so I didn't really game a lot because I was working a full-time job. I was trying to putting work together, trying to get the money to pay the rent and pay the bills without a college degree. And I came back into gaming when I think it was the PlayStation 3. And
that was a good one.
Oh my gosh. And my introduction to gaming, oddly enough, comes via WWE. I have on my shelf as much of the WWE games from PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4, and probably one or two PlayStation 2 games. But I love wrestling games. The latest one from WWE, the 2K, whatever it was, 20 or 19. It was bad. It was so bad. They skipped a year. They're doing it. They skipped 21. They didn't even do a game for 21. They're like, we need to fix this. But I loved that game because it was. You know the idea of an avatar. And the power in gaming of when that became a thing, where you could put yourself in that position. You could literally say, "This is me in the game." And with WWE, at a certain point, you could create your own character. You could put yourself into the wrestling ring.
That's pretty cool.
And come up with, like, if you had a nickname, or if your name was like common enough, the announcer would announce your name and then your nickname. They never had my last name Delay, so I always had to go like with either like Doll or just the letter D or whatever. But there's my character. Every game that came out until like I think 18 was the last one that was good, or 19 or whatever. I had a character, and I was able to create other characters, and I could create a universe. I could create my own show, WWE Raw, or WWE Aaron's ECW, and I could make my own stables. I could make my own groups, and so that's when I came back into gaming, and that's when Skyrim. I picked up Skyrim, and that fed into my first-person shooter, my RPG, and then there was Dragon Age. and Dragon Age
man.
Inquisition was just like,
yep.
oh my god, Dragon Age Inquisition was one of the critical kind of explosion of, oh wow, this is a fun game.
That was incredible, yeah.
So then I went and played Dragon Age 2 and Dragon Age Origins, and then that's when I began to fill up my Steam library, and I began to play every game I could get my hands on that I liked. I have played Planet Zoo, Planet Coaster. I could list out the games on my Steam library right now, and just I love gaming. Like,
Yep.
City Skylines replaced the SimCity world.
Yep.
I love City Skylines. Planet Coaster. There's a game called Project Hospital, which allows you to build a hospital.
Oh, that's interesting.
There's a game called Transport Fever 2, which allows you to build transport infrastructure while the towns respond to your structure builds.
Oh man.
I mean, I have Assassin's Creed. I have a it's a guilty pleasure. I love Company of Heroes, Cooking Simulator. Like, there is so many games. Fallout's a contentious one.
Oh yeah.
But
it is.
Left 4 Dead 2. Like, I'm just looking like Microsoft Flight Simulator. So my world is more RTS simulator based, like city building,
Yep.
that kind of stuff. I don't play first person shooters, which I know you do.
Oh, I do. Yeah.
So we can transition out of my long history and talk about what are you playing. What is your interest these days? Because you have a YouTube channel and you do a lot of stuff there. Talk
Yep.
us through kind of what has become with your gaming today, and what it looks like, and what games what kind of gaming you like now.
Well, so I would have to say first, I would like to go into kind of why I play what I play now. To me, it has become something unique.
Mm-hmm.
It takes me back to my childhood when I would play video games in my room by myself, because my brother at the time wasn't around anymore. He got sent off to boot camp and stuff because he couldn't behave himself. But
as you do.
yeah. And so I would that's how I would escape, was video games.
Yeah.
It's kind of so any of the kids out there that do this, I mean, I understand why you do what you do.
Mm-hmm.
You're escaping the realities of where you're at. I like video games. I love making videos. So that for me, that's where it all started. A buddy of mine contacted me on Facebook and says, well, I've watched a lot of your videos. Why don't you make gaming videos too? So I did.
Nice.
And so right now I play, so I like horror games.
Okay.
A lot, like a whole lot. I scream like a little girl sometimes, but like literally like a little girl. But I don't know, there's just something immersive about a horror game that just thrills me, man. It's like a rush.
Mm-hmm.
And so I play, one of the games I really like is Home Sweet Home.
Okay.
So for anybody that doesn't know what that is an Indonesian
Okay.
horror game.
Oh.
They make some of the best horror games I have ever played.
Really?
Visage is another one.
Okay.
Oh my goodness, that one's crazy good. I mean, I played that one. Warzone with my dad,
Okay.
my brother-in-law, and my son. We
Okay.
all play that one. Let's see. I have right now. There's one called Beyond Two Souls. It's more of it's hard to explain. It's like a story mode first-person shooter.
Okay.
But it's more of a psychological game in terms of the girl has this imaginary friend that is actually real. It's very, very cool. It is one of my favorite games.
Okay.
So y'all check that out on my YouTube channel.
Go ahead. What is your what is your YouTube channel called?
So it is called Guero, Guero space Loco. So that means crazy white dude in Spanish.
Okay.
That's what it means. Yes.
Fair enough.
I had a lot of people called me that, so that's what I
That's
just
what
go.
you- that's what took as your name.
named it.
So yeah, Beyond Two Souls. I've heard of this game.
Oh, it's very good.
And it's interesting because it requires you. What does it say here? It's an interactive play that requires. Oh, there's one of two player characters.
Yep.
One of them is a regular person, but the other is an incorporeal entity named Aiden.
There you
A
go.
separate soul linked to Jody since birth.
Yeah.
Possesses supernatural powers through her psychic link to Aiden, growing from adolescence to adulthood.
Yep.
Learning to control Aiden and the powers they share. Interesting. They got William Dafoe in this thing.
William Dafoe is in
my
it.
gosh!
Yes. It
Okay.
is very, very good. Man, what a
Interesting.
good game.
So it's on PC, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4.
Yep.
It came out in 2013, which is interesting that it's still going strong these days.
Yep.
But that's like kind of the funny thing about some games is they like to be retro, but they still come back around.
That's one of them.
So here's kind of it's funny. Like I don't do scary games.
Ooh,
I couldn't do it. The most I'll do is I'll watch playthroughs, and I've watched some of your playthroughs, and I just go, I don't. And that may be a challenge I have to take on for myself for my YouTube channel. I don't do a lot of gaming on my YouTube channel. I do a lot of vlogs, and my podcasts like this will end up there. But into this Thanksgiving and Christmas holiday, and possibly into the summer as school gets out, I may go back to actually doing some playthroughs. Just because I do I did it during the pandemic 2 years ago, and in intervening times, like I would do some Friday night playthroughs, some live broadcasts. I haven't quite experimented with actually recording a gaming episode and then editing it back together and putting it together.
It's fun.
You do all of that.
It's fun,
and you find it. What is the joy in that? Because we talked a little bit about that before we started recording, but what is it that attracted you to it, and what is it about it that you love?
That's kind of hard to say because I don't really know exactly. I don't know. There's a thrill for me when I see the finished product of all this work. Because for me, it's 2 or 3 days of work. To do a video. I mean, you have to make it. And then if you're wandering around for a while trying to figure something out, you have to edit all that out.
Right. Well, because nobody's going to want to watch that.
Okay.
Can you hurry it up, please?
Let's get this done. So I edit all of that out. I mean, there's the thumbnail, which is probably one of the most important parts. I don't know. There's something. I get a thrill out of doing videos. There's just something. It's like I'm taking a piece of myself and putting it out there. Which is something I've never done before. I mean, it's something that I want to encourage everybody to do that. Like, don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone.
Well, and we talked earlier about kind of your path in life. You didn't graduate high school.
No.
You got your GED.
Yep, eventually, yep.
And talk us through, like, your path of, okay, you have your GED, and where did you end up going for school? What degree did you get? And what kind of work do you do today?
Oh, okay. So I started off, I quit in the 10th grade because I told my dad I wanted to work, and he said, son, I'll give you an ultimatum. He said, you have one of two choices. You can stay in school, and I'll pay for everything. Or you can quit and go to work. Well, like an idiot, I chose to go to work. Now, I'm not going to say that it was the wrong choice for me because at the time, that's what I really wanted. I didn't want to go to school. I'm not saying that it was the right decision because it wasn't the right decision.
Well, and people talk a lot about how, like, you are who you are today because of all that. But in the moment, if you had done it differently, things may have ended up people talk about, like, when you drop out of high school, like, okay, well, now you got to fight for it. Now you got to struggle for it. And the stress and the work and the sweat and the tears and the blood that you have to do from the point of dropping out to getting your GED or going back and finishing, and then scrabbling your way to get to college and do those things. There's a lot of that a lot of people say, look, I made my choices. But those to those out there who are in school right now, who might be listening, to be like, well, he was successful, but was your life easy from dropout to GED to college? What was that? What kind of work did you got to do to make sure that you stayed afloat?
Okay, so oh my goodness, you are not ready for this. So I started off. I went to work in construction. My dad had a friend who worked in construction. He was in masonry work.
Okay.
So he built like rock walls, stuff like that. That's where I started. I decided I didn't want to do that anymore when I was taking a wheelbarrow of concrete down a hill, almost vertical now, and spilt it. And the boss says, you need to pick that up and take it down. I said, I'm done with this. It was 20 degrees outside.
Oh, jeez.
I'm like, I am not doing this anymore. So trust me when I say this. Dropping out is the worst decision you could ever make. Ever, ever, ever.
Right.
If you finish, just finish. That's all you have to do. Just finish. It's not that difficult. I mean, some of you are probably in 11th grade. You don't have very much time left. Just finish. And then you have a degree. You have a diploma.
Right.
And it's easier. So the struggle for me was doing that for like 10, 15 years. Then I went to work in a cotton mill.
Okay.
So I worked in the cotton mill. I was in the draw frames department. So we took so you're basically taking it from a rope and you're making it a smaller rope.
Okay.
And then a smaller rope.
Okay.
And then it drops down to the thread.
Okay.
Which is a really small rope.
Yeah.
So that's basically the process. So then I ended up getting a job as a mechanic there, fixing the machines.
Yeah.
Shout out to all my friends. And so I ended up getting a job. I got that job. I did that for, I don't know, a few years. I had a boss that I didn't like. I'm not going to mention no names because I'm not going to go there.
Probably a good plan.
Yeah. So I had a boss that I really didn't like. He was hateful and just a horrible.
Yeah.
Now, to be fair, he had lost his son.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like
Yeah.
he was doing it for nothing. He had a reason.
Right.
I didn't care.
Right.
I was selfish.
Yeah.
So I ended up quitting. I
Okay.
walked out one night. The morning he comes in and says, "Why does everything look like this?" And I said, "That's it.
Yeah. Bye.
I'm gone.
Yeah, I quit.
I'm done with this." That's when I got my GED.
Yeah.
My wife now was my girlfriend back then. She ended up supporting me for a month and a half so I could get my GED.
Okay. Now was that easy for her or?
She's a hard worker, so for her, I don't know that it was that hard.
Right. She had already done the work. Like she knew how to provide. And to do that. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, don't judge, y'all.
Right.
I mean, don't judge because it could be you.
Yeah.
So I ended up doing that, and then I finally got my GED in 2006 or 7. I think it's 2006.
Yeah.
And the feeling that was, man. My name went up on the wall that I was looking at in the GED office. I'll never forget that.
Nice.
And I got my GED, and then I still didn't really get a job per se in like what I didn't know what I wanted to do at the time. So I ended up going into I had a friend in Georgia who is kind of fixing computers and stuff at the time, and he's actually the one that got me into it.
Okay.
That's where my journey started, and that was like 10 years ago. So it wasn't like that long of a period of time ago.
Yeah.
So I ended up coming here to Colorado because in Georgia, my truck had broke down, my car had broke down, everything I had was broken.
Yeah.
I had no way to pay the rent.
Yeah.
I had no way to pay any of the bills.
Yeah.
We were down to our last $200. Oof. And I have a son to feed, 2 of them actually.
Yeah.
Because my son Isaac, he was a baby then, so he was maybe a year old or a little less.
Yeah.
And we ended up leaving Georgia with $200.
Yeah.
The clothes on our back.
Yeah.
I had a computer tower.
Okay.
With an Athlon X2. In case anybody knows what that is, it's a Phenom, an AMD Phenom. So this is like a long time ago.
Back in the day.
Kind
of like my 46 DX266.
Yeah.
When someone says it, you're like, oh, I know what that was.
Yeah. Well, exactly. Yeah. It dates it for sure. So I ended up getting this computer, and this is all we had. We had nothing else.
Yeah.
And so I learned right then that there are some times in life when you have to go through hard times to understand what you should have done differently.
Yeah.
That's why we're here.
Yeah.
Is to help kids to understand that your actions are going to have consequences.
Yeah.
And you may not see it right now, but later it's going to hurt a lot.
Well, I'm guessing when you were on that road driving out of Georgia with just what you had in that computer tower, I'm sure in your head you're going, man, how did I get here? Why? And then going, well, now I know how I got here. I dropped out of high school. I got my
exactly.
I own this. I own this part of my life. I am part of what has gotten me here, and it sucks to be in that position because it hurts. Like the one time I was fired from a job, I was responsible for why it happened.
Absolutely.
This was like 20 years ago, of course, but I was like, okay, well, this is my fault. I own this.
Yep.
And you realize quickly something's got to change.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You're at the point where, and I'm struggling mentally to figure out, okay, how am I going to take what I know right now and do something with it? Yeah. Well, I couldn't because I didn't know anything. Yeah. So we moved to Colorado. We were going to a church, and I ended up having my landlord ended up being a guy that went to my church. I didn't know that at the time.
Oh, okay.
He was the one that was posting the ad for the apartment.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But he ended up like saving us, dude. It was crazy. And I had this little, I think it was a 6x8 room.
Yeah.
I called the dungeon because that's what it was. It was just concrete walls on every side.
Oh, jeez.
And in that little room, I learned pretty much everything I know right now. I studied for hours and hours every day.
Yeah.
I didn't hold back. I didn't relent. I just went as hard as I could go.
Yeah.
I studied everything I could think of. Networking is what I eventually went into, but I can do any of the other stuff too.
Yeah.
But my degree is in network administration.
Okay.
It's like data networks.
Yeah.
And so that's where my degree, and that's how I got the job in IT.
Yeah.
I got my degree in like maybe 6 months after that, a year.
Mm-hmm.
One of the guys that worked there, he left. So I took his place.
Oh, okay.
So I've been there for 6 years now. I've been in the district total a little over 10 now. But it's been 6 in 5 or 6 in IT.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And your story is not unusual in this town.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have a podcast with Ernie Marquez. He runs the gym. He runs the gym over at Gladiators on Platte. And his story is a similar story. He dropped out of high school. He had a kid at 15. He had to fight hard to find success and to provide for his family. And he had to learn the hard way. And so when he talks to kids and he's like, just finish. Get the diploma.
Yep.
Don't this is not to disparage him or you, but you and you've said, I think you've said this, your path is not the path to success. Your path is the path of struggle and sweat and tears and blood and things that you would never wish on anyone else.
Absolutely.
And you can say, look, you could skip all of that. You could skip that 10 years of miserable scrabbling to pay bills and to make that.
Yeah.
If you make the choices that I didn't make now, make the good ones and choose the future. Education is a weapon. Education is that sword that you can use against the haters, against people who say that you're not smart enough, you're not.
Come on.
That's the power of it. And I feel like this in the rural, that's a hard word to say, by the way.
It is.
Rural, R-U-R-A-L, the rural parts of Colorado, but not just Colorado, the rest of this country.
Oh yeah.
There is a thing in rural communities where the stories are hard.
Yeah.
And the thing about those stories is they stand in stark evidence of, look, this is not the life you want to live. People have lived that life, but their stories stand as evidence of, hey, this is not the way that this is not success. This is tough, and you've had to fight for your success. You've had to work hard for your success. You mentioned you had gone to the University of Phoenix, and then that didn't work out because University of Phoenix is a for-profit enterprise that I don't particularly enjoy myself. But and then you found a school that would work for you, and that you could get your degree and you could get what you needed. And the people, your employers, they don't look at your degree and go, oh, well, I know that school. They go, okay, did you get the paper? Did you get the degree? Are you certified? Cool, you're hired. They don't look at, like, if you get a degree, if you get a diploma from Lincoln here or from any other place, they don't care where you came from. All they care about is, hey, did you get the paper? Did you get the paper? Cool, you're in.
Yeah.
And nobody in Denver Metro is going to look at you and go, oh, Lincoln High School in Fort Morgan, I know that place. They don't know, and they don't care.
You graduated.
They care that you graduated. They care that you did the work to get to the place that you need to be. And that is one of those things that I will repeat until my dying day to every single student I run into. Your education is your superpower. Your education is your weapon.
Man.
Your education is the way out. And Fort Morgan, there's a lot. Not there. The industries in town. We have our meat plant. We have the cheese plant.
Yep.
We have the sugar factory. We have a couple other like industries, but they're not high tech.
Yeah.
There's no. This is not the Silicon Valley of Colorado.
No, it's not. No.
And I tell kids, look, if you want to get out of Fort Morgan, you can. But you got to get through this paper first.
You have to.
Once you have that diploma, you can go to Denver Metro. You can go to Wyoming. You can go to Tallahassee. You can go to Florida. You can go anywhere in the world and make the success for yourself because you'll have people look at that piece of paper and go, you did the work, get in here. That's the power. And yes, does it mean that there's the piece of paper means something? Yeah. And so do some students and some people think that that's dumb? Yes, they do. But you're not going to change the education system overnight, and you're not going to change the need for the diploma because the diploma suggests you did the work.
That's right.
And sometimes it's down to like, look, there's a lot of things that I don't like to do as an adult. There are plenty of things in my life that I'm just like, I really don't have to do this.
Yeah.
But you know what? I want to be successful. I want to be able to pay the bills.
That's right.
And I want to be able to do what I want to do with the rest of my life. And so I'm going to do the couple things that I don't like to do the things that I want to do,
That's
that I really like.
exactly right. Yes.
And so it's, the stories that I've, from between you and others, the stories of this town there is success here. But it's success that if you want true success, if you want that success that comes from, like you said, you knew nothing. You had no knowledge.
I didn't.
You had all because you hadn't finished high school.
Yeah.
And yes, GED is a GED, but there's not a formal part of that. You read the books, you study, you take the test, you pass. You're
Exactly.
You're moving forward.
Exactly.
But if you're not looking, if you don't have a hunger for knowledge or a hunger for information, or I want to know how this works, I'm going to learn it. Like you said, you spent hours upon days in that concrete room learning everything you could.
I did, yep.
Because you knew, I don't have knowledge right now.
Yep.
I need that knowledge because I know what that knowledge can do for me.
Ooh, yeah.
And that's powerful.
It is, absolutely.
And that's sometimes what computer games can do. Like you can go, I want to learn how to do that. I want to use that to be successful, to do things. And you've talked about eventually someday you'd like to be able to have a YouTube channel that you have a regular amount of viewers and you've got, you get to do it for fun, or you may even at some point in your life do it full time.
That's what I truly want.
Right.
Yeah.
And here's the thing is we talk to our kids about this and they go, well, yeah, I just want to do that. It's like, yeah, but it's work.
It's a lot of work.
and between you and me, we're both content creators on YouTube.
Yep, exactly.
We are nowhere near famous, anywhere near like moderate or even medium, or we're approaching small.
Yeah.
Like I don't even think with my 123 subscribers, I don't think I qualify as small. I think I like maybe a paramecium in the grand scheme of things. I'm just a little old germ on the scale of content creators.
Yeah.
But that's where, like, I want to learn how to do that better. And you talk about that. You say, I have to learn how to make, like, I've had to learn. I've had to ask questions. I've had to change how I do my oh boy, the word's gone from my head. Screenshot, not the screenshot, but the
thumbnail.
There it is. That's the word I was looking for.
Yes.
Like you had to finesse that.
Yeah.
And that's part of learning. And so you've researched, you've watched other videos, you check out other channels. You go, okay, why are they successful? How can I adapt to that success here?
Yeah.
That's the power of knowledge. You want, and if you're out there listening, either here in Morgan or across the world, wherever you are, have a hunger for knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just start learning stuff, like looking into, okay, how is a computer built? Or how have computers been built over time? Like, what's the difference between a computer that was built in the 80s to a computer that's built in the 2021s? Why is the cost of GPUs so high? What's the mineral composition of a 1980s computer versus a 2021 computer?
Exactly right.
Why do we have issues with, like, there is so much knowledge in this world. There is so much information. And you can take courses. There are courses online with companies, with organizations, with community colleges, and there are lights go out.
That's okay.
So, but I get really passionate about education.
Yeah, I love it too.
And I think if kids want to be computer programmers, they want to be YouTubers, they want to do something that is electronic and digital, you have to figure out how to learn it. You have to commit yourself. And the only way you're going to be able to do it is get that diploma and then pursue that dream, either on the side, because there's no way that you're going to be day one a full-time streamer.
No.
That's just not going to happen.
No.
But you can side hustle that game until possibly something takes off. You get a viral video, you get a bunch of subscribers, you get some fans in your comments, and you still got a side hustle in that in addition to that main hustle.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've gotten off track from the computer gaming conversation, but like I think your story is important, and I think it stands in contrast to like. If you want to be successful, if you want to, whatever people's idea of success is, you have to learn the lessons of those that came before, and you have to go.
Exactly right.
Do I want to follow that path of working 10 years at dead-end jobs and hating my bosses?
Don't do that.
I mean, because I didn't get my college degree until 2018, I worked for some pretty awful people. Like,
me too.
In call centers, I worked in management and in hospitals of housekeeping department. Like I've worked for some people who really were pretty verbally brutal.
They were,
and I could have done better if I had that college degree, and that's why I teach. I went to school for 4 years, and it was tough.
Oh, it's so hard.
Going to school at 36.
It
was rough. I don't think it was 35 maybe. And I was back in the classroom. I was back having to write essays. I was having to read like 10 to 15 pages a night, if not even more.
Yep.
And it took me 4 years, but I got my degree. I got my certification. I'm licensed to teach in the state of Colorado.
Yep.
And I worked hard for that. And so every time I walk into this room, I walk into this building, I'm like, I did this. I made this.
I worked my butt off to get here.
I did, and I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to quit, and I'm not going to let somebody in my classroom say, "Oh, I'm just going to drop out." Don't you dare.
Don't you do it. No.
You are meant for so much more.
You are.
And in 2021, the opportunities and availabilities and chances and paths you can take once you graduate from this place and you're on your way on that, like, you don't have to stay in Fort Morgan. You can absolutely stay and continue to grow the town, but sometimes you got to leave. And that's okay, because not every small town needs everyone to stay. We need people to go out and get training and come back.
Later,
Yep, we're going to go off on a tangent, so we got to bring it back. We've gone off on a tangent. But I hope that as you're listening that you understand that
yes.
If you find your nerd thing, find your geek thing. If it's
That's right.
If it's fantasy football, go for it. Like, embrace it.
Exactly.
Love it.
Learn it.
Yeah, learn
everything.
something about something today and tomorrow. Keep learning and seeking out information, seeking out knowledge, because you might find something and go, ooh, this is kind of cool. This might work. Our lights came back on again.
Okay.
Our classroom is possessed. In
Magic.
case you're wondering, we'll just need to call the priest and get some holy water, get that taken care of. That's probably there's probably some horror video games that are set in a similar setting where the lights are turning off and on.
They're absolute. The one of Visage is like that. Yes. It's terrifying.
We've come full circle. Yeah. All right. Well, we've hit about 45 minutes, so I think. Oh God,
now they went off
the
again.
Lights are off again. If you're listening to this now, send help. Just kidding. Don't. Oh, they're back on again.
It's possessed.
There are spirits at work. I don't know what's going on. We'll have a report next week on the status of our lights in this room. So this has been a good conversation.
It has.
We will.
Goodness.
It's an on and off. I think it might be related to how we're moving. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sundays in this building are weird. So my point of it is that's why they're on and off. Our janitor is in the building.
What in the world, man?
If you're wondering what just happened, I'm not mentioning him by name, but our delightful janitor was turning the lights on and off on us, trying to freak us out.
He kicked the ghost out the door.
Lord, the ghost is real. He is the guy who comes in and checks the building on the weekends.
He is.
Delightful. Put that in my notes. Anyway, so the next couple episodes me and Chris will sit down and actually plan out. We're going to talk about RTS. Yep. We're going to talk about first-person shooters. We're going to talk about classic games that are new again. There's a lot of conversations that we can have on this podcast. If you're out there and you're here in Morgan County, or you're out there and you have a suggestion, hey, you guys should talk about this. Hey, I want to see what you guys think about this. Yeah. Throw me an email, adelayedteacher@gmail.com. Again, adelayedteacher@gmail.com. Check us out on YouTube. Chris has his channel. My channel is simply A Delayed Teacher. We're both. He's more of a gamer and I'm more of a vlogger. And we hope that as we continue on this journey throughout the next couple of months into the new year, that our interest in computer games will draw you in. We'll give you something to think about and maybe explore. And maybe you go to an antique shop. It's weird to say that word. Go to an antique shop and find yourself a GameCube or find yourself a Dreamcast. Put in a game, hook it up, power it up, and discover where your joy can be found. It can be found in video games. It can be found on a city builder. It can be found in a horror game that scares the pants off you.
Yes, it can.
That's the fun part of gaming is there's always something for everybody out there. Even if you're going to play just solitaire. Like, if it's as simple as that, love it, enjoy it, perfect it, and get good at it.
That's right.
Well, I think that's all we have. We don't have a closing statement on this show yet. We and Chris have not talked about that yet. But for me, thanks for listening. Tune in. We'll try and do this once a week, so we'll probably be uploaded by Monday mornings, and we'll have more next week for episode 2.
That's right.
And we'll see you then. Chris, any final words to close us out?
Always keep learning, y'all. Always.
Yep. Don't ever stop. Fill that brain.
Yep.
The brain has space for stuff you can't even begin to fathom, and
that's right.
Who knows where it will lead you? Well, until the next time. My name is Aaron.
And my name is Chris.
And this has been, what are we calling ourselves? County Gamers?
The County Gamers.
I'm going to get it right some of these times. You've been listening to the County Gamers. Until the next one, stay safe and know that you are loved and appreciated and encouraged. Go learn something today.
Absolutely.
You've been listening to the County Gamers Podcast, presented by Create at Morgan Productions, located in Fort Morgan, Colorado, USA. For more information on our production house, other podcasts that are hosted here, and further details, please visit www.createatmorgan.org. You can find us on Twitter at the handle CreateAtMorgan. Create at Morgan is a school club at Lincoln High School, our alternative education campus here in Morgan County. Our sponsor is Aaron DeLay, the language arts teacher at Lincoln. Send any feedback to adelayedteacher@gmail.com. Thank you for listening to our podcast.